Good evening. Just a couple of seconds early tonight. As you can see, my background is different. I'm back home in Panama City after an 11-day road trip. Glad to be here. Outside my window, the sun is setting on the beautiful St. Andrews Bay. We're here in the condo for the next couple of months, getting ready for football season and tonight's program, where we'll feature Scott Carter. We'll have Ben Troupe, Franz Beard, and Loren Meadows. And as Steve Spurrier says, this is talking season. It is talking season. So let me do some talking right here in the Buddy Martin Show. Welcome. Tell your friends and neighbors we're on there.
Buddy Martin, call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ? I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Welcome to the program. Glad to be with you tonight. It's been a long road trip, 11 days, but good to be back home here in Panama City. Been down in Ocala with our family and friends. Shout out to all the people down in Ocala, especially my sister-in-law, Nell, who was such a great host for us. Brendan and the whole team down there, Stella, etc. We'll be back there sometimes in August. We'll be heading down to the third anniversary of Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Group. Can you believe that? Third anniversary of the thing. So anyway, that's what's happening there. In the news tonight, we've got a story about the death of a very famous football man. We'll tell you about that in just a second. It's talking season, as Coach Spurrier used to say. And so let's talk. Let's do some talking. We know about the SEC Media Days next week. Probably much of the same themes will be covered, more than likely. And we will discuss some of those. Tonight, we're going to follow up on our show last night with Allie. And by the way, thank you to those people who hung with us during the difficult days we had no internet, hanging in there. It was a challenge, but we got through, although we get knocked out of the box one night. So we'll probably do an extra long show tonight to make up for it. And we've got a good cast, of course. Scott Carter will be here shortly. Also, we've got Ben Troupe. Be good to talk to Benny again. I was in his hometown just a couple of days ago. Didn't have the time I was hoping for. Nothing to do with Ben, mostly with the problems with the hotel, which I won't go into here, not by name at least. And I always liked Savannah, but the experience is not good there. Also tonight, talk about our quadrant system we talked about last night with Allie. Well, basically what we did is we took all 16 teams, and can you imagine that? 16 teams in the SEC, and we broke them down in groups of 4. Why? Because, 4 times 4. And even I know that, and I'm good at math. So we took these groups and put them together and tried to decipher which ones were the teams that, were going to be in one. You could probably figure them out, but I'll give you mine again. You can disagree or agree with it if you'd like. As all of you know, you can always message me here, and we try to respond to them when we can. And we will we'll talk about that, other things. Anything else on your mind? I want to get to this. First of all, good evening to those who are checked in tonight already. Thank you, Dan Bond, and thank you, Robert Turner, and you're always there. Yeah, you're right, Dan. Can't believe it's been 3 years since Spurs opened. So join in with Dan and Robert and the gang. Give us some messages. We'll read it on the air if it's worthy. Tonight, a little bit of a sad note to start out with. I know it sounds like that he was old, but Monty Kiffin, one of the true legends of football. And we all know about the Tampa 2 defense. He invented, where they have two cornerbacks playing on an island. And Monty Kiffin is a longtime football man, father of Lane, a guy that is very, very well respected. Although his son, a bit of a loudmouth, a very good coach, he also he mentored him. I have a picture here I'm going to try to find, if possible. I love this picture. And you forget sometimes that guys were fathers and sons and what have you. And as much as we like to make fun of Lane Kiffin and etc., the fact is he's a heck of a football coach. He had a dad who was great. He was a signature defense he put in there in Miami. In Tampa and other places. Monty Kiffin passed away peacefully at 84 today in Oxford. The story says, surrounded by family and friends, as his grandson Knox said, he's free of pain and smiling down on us from above. He is the father of the Tampa 2. I think they should rename it the Monty instead of the Tampa 2. So they're asking, please keep the Kiffin family in your thoughts and prayers during this time. Condolences to his family. Lane made a comment, my hero, and here's the picture he posted. Who wouldn't like this picture? Beautiful shot of he and his dad riding the white horse. It looks like it was a Tampa parade. I can't tell for sure. Maybe some of you know. Monty's wearing the mask. I guess he's the Lone Ranger. And Lane is there in his lap. That's a beautiful picture. And something I'm sure that means even more now to them. So all the best to the Kiffin family. Sorry for their loss, and RIP. I didn't know Monty personally, but he was a hell of a football coach. And he did it for a long time and did it well. So that's the news, unfortunately, tonight. Here's an up note as we wait for Scott Carter. We're still waiting on Scott. And then we got, after that, we'll have our buddy Ben Troupe out in Savannah. Talk to him about his town there, about some. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out here now. Not that anybody cares, but when's the last time you went to a hotel? And by the way, a hotel chain that you've had a very good experience at. I know it's not sports. Bear with me just for a minute. And you went there expecting to have the same kind of service you've gotten in other towns. And you know you're paying a little bit more because it's not your basic Holiday Inn. It's something at a higher level. I'm not going to name the hotel because they just opened this hotel in Savannah. It's a refurbished old hotel in our historic district. I'm thinking I'm driving 5 hours from the mountains with my wife Dawn and I, from where we spent a glorious 5 days at her cabin, her family, and Tyler and Christy and the whole team. And we're driving a long, long, long way. And I thought, we'll get there. We'll go to this place that we like so much. Never been to the one in Savannah, in the historic district. We'll go in, have a nice dinner, get a nice rest, hit the road, and drive on to Florida. That was the plan. Worked out okay, except when I got there, parked my car, took my bags up to the room. I did. I had some help doing it. I had a lot of bags. I said, well, let's go downstairs and have a bite to eat before we go to bed. And we went down to what we thought was the restaurant. I'm not going to go into the whole story, but it was really the bar. But it took 15 minutes to figure that out, standing around asking the bartender. Can we get a server? Oh, yeah. 15 minutes later, no server. Okay, whatever. We finally were told, oh, you got to go in that next room over. Okay, next room over. We sit down. We order these 2 sandwiches. So best thing we could get, want to get it quick. Hamburger, $18. Chicken sandwich, $18. Okay, you pay what you pay. Ate those, left, went to bed, got up the next morning, thought we'll get an early start. We'll call downstairs, get our car and our bags or whatever. Call downstairs. First time, I kid you not. How long should you wait for an operator to ring? 35 times. 35 times, okay? This is a hotel that prides itself on service. And then I called to the inn another 30 times. I did this 4 times before I never got through to anybody. I thought, well, I'll just get on my cell phone. I'll call in here as an outsider. And I called, and the 3rd ring, they picked it up. They said, can you hold, please? I said, no, I cannot hold. I've been trying for almost 2 hours to check out of this hotel. Well, sorry, we're very busy. Well, I'm very busy, and I'm in a hurry too, please. So you'll have to come downstairs. So we got our bags downstairs, get in there, get the bill. So give me the bill. Let me look at it. I knew it was a little higher. I get the bill, which is pretty good besides bill, and it's got a charge on it for parking. How much is parking worth in Savannah for one night? Well, it was worth $48 to them. $48. I paid New York prices before. I know what it's expensive. That was bad enough. Then I get the bill and I walk out of the building and look at the bill. There's a $25 charge on there for destination fee. Yeah, destination fees. I have no idea what that means. And so at that point in time, I thought, let me get out of this town right now. Did not have, let's see here. We're having problems. Try again, Scott. Okay. It's having a problem with the. All right. So, yeah. Scott's having problems logging in. Anyway, that's the deal on that. And it wound up not being a good experience. All right. I've killed enough time telling that story. And Scott is having problems with, for some reason, the link I sent him. I don't know why sometimes it's like that and sometimes it's not. Let's see what I can do to fix it again. I'll copy the link again. Now we'll go up again and get his email. Get it out. Boy, this is what you got to do when you run your own show. This is what it's like. So bear with me for a second while I tell you about the sponsor of this program. Most of you who listen to this show know it is our good friends Meldon Law. By the way, I saw billboards all over the place from Meldon Law coming through over back to Tallahassee, and he is everywhere, man. Unbelievable. And, he does a lot of good things in our community. I want you to remember this guy puts his money where his mouth is and does a tremendous job with sponsorships of things he likes. He does a really good job with his business. And I really love him as a sponsor. I want you to know that he's supporting the program at Florida extremely well and doing it in high fashion. Let me see. Let me get Scott Carter's name in here. Scott, sending it to you again. Here's the link again. And you go here. And we'll have pretty soon, we'll have Ben Troupe as well. Okay. Yeah, this is just the new program. And I haven't had this problem before, but I've had other things. So we'll try that one. See if Scott can get that. And now while we're at it, we'll send another one to Ben Troupe. Okay. Send that new link. Isn't this interesting? Yeah. This is what we do behind the scenes here. That's a glorious business I'm in here. All right. Let's do this. And I'll send that. All right. Now, back to my sponsor. I hope he's still sponsoring after this. I'm grateful to a guy like Jeffrey, who's got his heart and soul in this. He's the kind of guy, he's in right now in Europe and having a bit of a vacation at Grandma. He told me some of the places he's going to go. He works hard during the year and he likes to be able to enjoy his time. I think that was the sound of Scott. I believe Scott Bagala got in. Look at here who's here. It is Scott Carter. Well, I guess it was a faulty link. I'm not sure, buddy. How you doing?
Good. Yeah, I don't know what it was. I think it was a different link than this one, obviously. So I've made it, man. I've made it.
You did. You did make it. Good to see you. Welcome back. I'm just finishing up talking about Meldon Law. You know what they do. They do a lot of things. They're a great sponsor for me as well. So, well, tell me about your trip. I was just complaining about by the way, Meldon Law, they won't back down. All right, go ahead. Tell me about your trip, Scott Carter.
You know what, man? I just got in the car and I took my daughter up to Nashville the first day. My dad, who lives in East Tennessee up in the mountains, he came over and picked her up. And then my son and I we ended up going up to Louisville, spent the day at Churchill Downs, and went to Indianapolis. Did not bump into Anthony Richardson, but we were in Indianapolis. Then we were in Chicago for about 5 days.
Yeah.
So, had fun there. Went to
what were you doing in Chicago?
you know what? Just hanging out. We went to the Rolling Stones concert at Soldier Field.
Oh, wow.
We went to a Cubs Brewers game up in Milwaukee. And then after that, I went back down to my dad's house. But I'd never stopped in South Bend after all my trips on the Ohio Turnpike. So we checked out South Bend.
Been in South Bend?
Never had been.
Wow.
Which, I've never been to a game there. The stadium was nice, but kind of, not exactly. It's just a nice campus, but nothing over the top. It was, and then went down to Ohio State to check out Ohio State, which, big old stadium.
A real tour.
Yeah, so we did a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but we had a good time.
Well, let's talk about South Bend for a second. I went there about 15 years ago for a Sea Air Force play and beat Notre Dame. I was one of those guys that kind of looked at my nose at places like Notre Dame, like a lot of people in the South do.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I had a new perspective on it. And my perspective was, this is how football was when I grew up. This kind of arena, basically on the campus, right there on the campus, touchdown, Jesus on the wall, bare bones, not anything that's necessarily with the odd markings in the end zone like they've been forever. And this said to me tradition and history. So I guess if I was really honest about it, if I said if a Martian came downstairs and came down from up above and said, "Show me college football," I'd have no problem taking a Notre Dame and say, "Here, this is now it's not my kind of brand of college football, but college football was in my era growing up." So much tradition there.
No, it's you kind of sense the history a little bit there. They've done some work on the stadium where they built kind of like Florida State had done before they renovated Doak Campbell, where they built all the halls on the outside of the stadium where they're doing classes and stuff. But you could tell that the stadium had been around for a while. But caught my attention a couple of things, buddy. First of all, how just nicely manicured the campus was.
Yeah.
Just beautiful grass and grounds. And, you walk around the stadium there, you see the Newt Rockne statue, the Dan Devine statue, Ara Parsegian. So you sense that history. And I walked over to the bookstore and I walk in, and the first thing I see, they have these T-shirts that just came out that day of the Four Horsemen. So when you talk about history,
you gotta have one of those, man.
Can't get much more college football history than the Four Horsemen. So, but yeah, it's a lot different than the SEC. I would imagine on game day there, it's probably, I don't know, a little less rowdy than what we're used to.
Yeah.
But no doubt that, they do it their way, and it's got a long storied history. So, different strokes for different folks, man.
It is. That's fine. Well, you had one of those vacations I kind of like, where you sort of just meander and ramble and make it up as you go along. Yeah. That's the most fun to me right there,
Yeah, you know what? Really, it was kind of right after I got back from Omaha. I was supposed to take my son to his first ever concert. So we had tickets to the Rolling Stones in Orlando, June 3rd. Well, the Gators baseball team got hot, so I had to sell those tickets. And on June the 3rd, I was in Stillwater. So I'm like, I'm still going to take him to his first concert, the Rolling Stones. So I had to look and see where I can link.
How you going to beat that? I mean,
so that's where we went. We ended up in Chicago, and I figured while we're there, let's take him to some places that he hasn't seen. So he's only 11, so we had a good time. But anyway, I do love those trips, though, buddy. Just get in your car and, you fly so much, you miss a lot. And I've always told people one day I'd like to just get in my car or camp or whatever and drive all around the country for about 3 or 4 months, because there's a lot that I haven't seen.
The road, right? I mean, what be at?
That's right, man. So
I'm with you on that. And, it is, you've probably been by the way, I know you heard about Monty Kiffin passing.
I did.
Tampa, you knew of him and what a legendary guy he was. And His son may be a jerk. I don't know, but good football coach. Monty was a class guy, I thought.
He was dealt with him some down in Tampa when they were, had Derek Brooks, John Lynch, Warren Sapp, Rodney Barber. Just one of the great defenses, I think. When you look back at it. And the Tampa 2, he was an innovator, helped him win the Super Bowl, had some great defenses. And he was also a character, kind of a rider's coach in a lot of ways. He knew what riders looked for, and he just had the kind of colorful personality that made him a natural subject. So one of those old school guys that you don't see many of them anymore, but certainly the people who were around him and football people, especially coaches, respected him, riders respected him. He was just one of those guys that you're glad you met.
I propose that they name it the Monty instead of the Tampa 2.
That'd be good, man. He created something that still has lasting power today, and it's hard to do when you're in his profession. Not many guys are credited with something like that. So rest in peace to Monty Kiffin, a good guy.
This guy knows about Monty Kiffin.
That's right,
man.
Oh yeah, man. When you guys just said it, I didn't even know he had passed away. When I had a cup of coffee with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I was able to be down there, and Monty Kiffin was talking to me, like we'll go to practice, and there go Rondé Barber, there go Derek Brooks. Obviously, ain't no Warren Sapp, ain't no Simeon Rice no more, ain't no John Lynch. But when Monty Kiffin spoke, everybody listened. John Gruden, Bruce Allen, everybody, and and obviously when I got cut by the Bucs, I went out there to Oakland. Who was the head coach? Lane Kiffin. So I went from Monty to Lane that year. But Monty Kiffin is legendary because Tampa 2, they should just call it the Monty 2. He will be missed. I think when you be around, we talk about football royalty all the time. I think we throw it around. Monty Kiffin is football royalty. He really, really is, and he will be missed. The hardest thing to do in sports is to, one, do it at a high level to be remembered for what your contributions. If you don't know who Monty Kiffin is, you don't know football. And like I said, he will definitely be missed. He was a legend of the game. He was a mastermind of the game. And if you ever want to see something beautifully done, just go back to 2002. Turn on that tape with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. And I want you to watch number 55. Take away. Why don't they just throw it to the tight end down the seam, down the middle? Look at Derek Brooks. He's standing right there. We'll dump it off to the running back. He's going to be right there to smack him because he won Defensive Player of the Year. But Monty Kiffin, right now, he is up in heaven going over to Tampa 2. They're like, y'all angels crowd around. Let me show y'all how we really do this. He will be missed because I've been blessed in my lifetime to be able to meet some legendary coaches like Al Davis, John Gruden, Steve Spurrier. But when I met Monty Kiffin, and he knew who I was, I don't play defense, but he knew who I was. So may God may God bless him, Lane, and I know they going through it right now. But hey, man, Monty was the man. He knew he was the man. He carried himself like he was the man. And they said that Warren Sapp used to respect Monty Kiffin like he was his dad. You could get Warren Sapp to respect, for those you got to know Warren Sapp to know that. But hey, man, Monty was him. And when I used to go to practice, man, he'll say, take it. He'll say, you gonna take it easy on today, 83? I said, listen, Monty, I'm gonna give you my best. And when I got released, Monty Kiffin heard about it, man. And then if I would have been in the building, I'm pretty sure we would have had some words. But listen, may he rest in paradise. Heaven just got another one. Like I say, whoever was the defensive coordinator in heaven, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to move over. Because Monty's here now. Monty just walked in the room. We just give him the pen and pad and just take notes.
He had a long, illustrious career. One thing we forget about, guys, and Scott, you and I cover these teams, and we forget about that they're all dads or uncles or brothers or whatever. And it's times like this when you see family pictures, when you begin to remember that they have close family ties. I've got a wonderful picture. I showed it when I first came on. I'm going to show it again about a dad, the picture that everyone would like to have. Check this out. You see what this is right here? Look at that.
Yeah.
Obviously, Monty's wearing a Lone Ranger mask. He's the one riding the horse. There's Lane sitting up in his lap with that white steed. What a great photograph that is right there. A dad and his son, man, that's great.
Yeah, no, that's part of why he did it, I'm sure. And then his son followed in his footsteps, so they had a great relationship, and even worked together at Tennessee, right, for a little while in USC. So had to be a thrill for Lane Kiffin to have his father on his staff. And but yeah, I mean, most of my memory of him is going to come from Tampa, and I think Ben just kind of hit it on the head from an insider's perspective. I mean, if you were in Tampa around that time and you knew those Bucks, I mean, Monty Kiffin was every bit the name of the day as Dave Brooks and Warren Sapp and those guys.
Yeah,
part of it.
He's him. He's man. I think too often at times now when we talk about football, we do players now a disservice because they come to these schools and teams and we don't tell them the history. They think, oh man, I'm the greatest. I go, ain't no way. What? And then when you show them, they say things like, oh, that guy was pretty good. No, that guy was great. That guy you watch. Like, listen, I get there's an Aaron Donald, and he might go down as, but Warren Sapp was a hellraiser, right? We say, what? And then I know that Patrick Mahomes can throw that thing like we've never seen. But I saw Dan Marino. I saw, Joe Montana. And when you start saying that, it's like, look, you can only do what has been done or set a new bar. That's all. You're either going to do what's been done. With Monty Kiffin, the Tampa 2 sounded like a bunch of mythical characters just on this field. And then they'll come out there, and you see Derrick Brooks. You expect Derrick Brooks to be 6'6". Derrick Brooks barely 6 feet tall, right? Yeah. But when he put that 5'5" on his chest, and Derrick Brooks is the nicest human being you're ever going to come across. I caught a pass on Derrick Brooks. Mind you, he's probably in year 10, 11. I'm in year 4 or 5. And when I catch a pass on him, I walk by and say, my bad, Derrick. He said, no, it's like, I wouldn't call him sir, because it's like these guys are I tackled Rondé Barber when I was with the Titans because Harry Collins overthrew me, and he finna pick it off, and my momentum, I slammed him on the ground. I'm on the ground telling Rondé Barber, I'm sorry, Rondé. Hall of Famers, right? So, and when you on the set, so when you see a guy like Monty Kiffin who said, the perfect defense can only be run by the best players. You give me the right guys, this thing will look like poetry, and you will not play the weak side linebacker position better than Derrick Brooks. They don't make people like that. He spent his whole life in Florida. Grew up in Florida, went to Florida State, got drafted by Tampa, got a school started down there by him. That go Warren and like
one of my favorite memories, not to interrupt you, but was that being at the Super Bowl in San Diego at the end of the game when it became evident the Bucs were going to win the game.
Yes.
If they took Derrick Brooks and Warren Sapp out of the game, and they walked off the field during the game, arm in arm, like two proud warriors. We did this. That was a great moment watching those guys do that. And by the way, one other quick thought before I let Scott go, he just got home. He's going to go get some rest. He's worn out, I'm sure. He said, look at that picture again of Monty and Lane on horse. Talking about dads, talking about, have you ever had the opportunity to have your father come be with you in your work and sort of take part with you, whether it's a meeting you're in or whatever, and let him look at you and watch what you did? I have. And that was a glorious moment for me. My mom and dad were divorced, and he wasn't around a whole lot during high school. Later on, he was a newspaper guy, by the way. And so many, many years later, when I got my job as a sports editor of the New York Daily News, my dad was always loved New York. He never went there. He loved it, though. And I invited him to come up and stay with me. And at that time, we had a pretty good sized staff at the Daily News. He came in and went to the office with me. And number one, he got to sit in the staff meeting, my staff meeting with me, as I conducted the staff meeting with my people. I know he was so proud at that moment. The other thing was he walked out and he had introduced him. He said he knew Jimmy Breslin. I don't think he really did, but Breslin actually, he knew him and said, come on, Marty, let's get some coffee. We'll go out. Great day. So I know you guys may have stories real quick about your dads, but having your dad in your workplace and having him look at you and with admiration in his eyes is a special feeling.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. That's just part of my trip I just took, buddy. Was I'm fortunate enough to my dad's still alive, and he's in his early 70s, and he had found a video, guys. He was in Vietnam when I was born. He didn't see me until I was 8 months old. Anyway, he had found this video in the last few months. One of his comrades over in Vietnam on the San Juan Hill, he had recorded stuff over there. So my dad somehow found this on YouTube and was showing me last week footage of him like before I was born over. So it was pretty cool. So that's a good little dad story I have right now.
Ben, I'm sure you got one.
Oh yeah, I mean the thing about my pops that make him who he is when I was working at ESPN Radio, you know, when BJ used to want to do these dad shows, like on Christmas Eve we'll do the dad show, and you know, my dad comes in, you know, asks my dad out. They think because I'm a sports guy, my dad just knows all the sports history. He does not. Like my dad just watches, but watching my dad be on the mic and him saying, "Listen, I'm just here because my son asked me to come. Like he said, I just want to be in his presence." And you know, because no matter what, Scott, you know, Franz, buddy, there are certain things a man will never grow out of wanting his daddy to be proud of him. I don't care who you are. If your dad say, "Hey, good job, Scott," it don't matter what no one else says, right? Because at the end of the day, you want your daddy's approval. Meaning, if you got your nice suit on, your dad goes, your tie's crooked, you walk out like, because you want to, you know, because that's who you come from. So, like I said, too many memories when it comes to my daddy, man. That guy there, he's like a little local celebrity in Swainsboro where I'm from. You know, everybody loves him. You know, and you know, my dad. The greatest thing my dad did, he said, "Son, I went from being property of the state to owning property in the state." You know, so for me, hey, what can I say, man? He's getting on my mama's nerves right now. Like right now as we speak, he's getting on her last nerve. And that's what I love the most about my daddy. I pride myself on making my mama pissed off. I try to piss her off every time I'm around her. My daddy holds up the mantle, though. He does it. I'll never be as good as he is. He's known her a lot longer than me. But I do my best to try to, you know, be the offspring of pissing my mama off whenever I'm in her presence. So, daddy, keep going.
Yeah, I'm sure you do find you have a great relationship with your father, and Francis got a situation with his mom. She's very ill right now, and his stepdad, he's had a tough go, and I know you made your parents very proud of you, Franz, for what you've done.
You know, the way I look at it is, somebody once told me this, and it resonated with me. Said your parents, you know, when you hit 18 years old, your parents stop owing you anything. The rest is up to you to pay them back for getting you through the first 18 years. And there's real truth in that. You know, my parents don't owe me anything. I owe them. I wouldn't be here without them. And, you know, it comes time. I grew up in an era when my great grandfather and great grandmother died at my grandmother's house. My grandmother died in my mom's house.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way it used to be. Your parents, you took care of your parents, and when they passed away, you were there with them. I just had the death of a dear friend, Casilda Lazares, who was a professor with me at Hannam University in Korea. And she was from the Philippines, a visiting professor from De La Salle University in the Philippines. And she came there. We became just fast and dear friends. And she died. And she went out the way you ought to go out. She had her kids and her grandkids around her, holding her hand. She went out with a smile on her face. That's, you know, doesn't get much better than that.
Well, I'm also very blessed, and I'm going to tell Scott goodnight here unless he wants to add something, to have my son work for me. He's been probably cursed by it. I've been blessed by it. So it's really great when you can work in your workplace with your children in the same profession. And I have two daughters who are also very talented as writers. And if there were journalism around and work papers, they could both make their living doing that. So it runs their genes. Any final thoughts, Scott, before I let you go? Night.
No, guys, just, I'm ready for, 51 days, going out to Dallas on Wednesday for SEC Media Days to hear what's said out there. It's interesting. Gators in the afternoon session grouped with Texas. So, we'll get to see Steve Sarkisian for the first time at the SEC Media Days. So I'm just ready for it to start, fellas. I know you guys are too.
Talking season, man.
That's right. That's right.
Talk about it. I'm excited about it. Before I let you all go, I did this last night, and I did it with Allie. I broke down the conference with 4 quadrants, just because, an even number, 4 and 4, 16. And I found it kind of interesting when you look at it. You see who you're going to put in each quadrant. And you think, well, I can't put them down here. But then you start talking about who you want to replace them with, who's going to go out. You think, well, wait a minute, I can't put them down there either. So I think the level of competition is really incredible. If I said to you guys right now, for instance, if I said to you, let's look at the quadrants, I'll give you my quadrants real fast. It's pretty simple. All right, the bottom one is a group they'll win 4 to 5 games. South Carolina, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Vanderbilt. You say, wait a minute, Arkansas is better than that. Okay, you're going to put them in the next one above, Group 3 with 6 to 7 wins. Texas A&M, Auburn, Florida, Kentucky. Who you going to knock out of there, all right? Say, well, wait a minute, but maybe Texas, maybe Auburn's better. Well, okay, Group 2, LA 8 to 9 wins, LSU, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Who do you knock out of there, right? And you can argue a little bit on the 4th choice in the SEC Quad 1, which is Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss. You would want to play with Ole Miss, fine. But speak now or forever hold your peace on that. Go first, Scott.
I mean, that's probably kind of how I'd be thinking. I mean, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to really knock on anybody. It's going to be such a unique season, guys, because Texas. When you add Texas and Oklahoma, I mean, those 2 programs historically, they match up with anybody in the league, basically, maybe except Alabama in traditional history. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't really mess with your 4 there too much, buddy.
Ben, real quick.
I mean, I respect the quadrant. I mean, I do think that, at the end of the day, Mizzou had an outlier type year. We'll see if they can do it again. Tennessee still did not beat Florida last year, right? And they're in a tier above, which I know they got a big time quarterback with a last name that's hard to pronounce. But at the end of the day, listen, right now Florida's in tier 3, got a chance to go up to tier 2. Well, I would say this. If we start out at tier 3 before the season even starts, and obviously, we got a ticket to the party, but we paying the biggest price for our ticket right now with the schedule. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see if them creamsicle boys can live up to that tier 2, and we'll see if we can step up and take one of those guys out. But I like where we at right now, starting now.
All right, Franz, give me 30 seconds on it.
I'd rather start lower and have a chance to go up than start high and get knocked off, and all of a sudden you feel the weight of expectation on your shoulders from the rest of the season. If you start out, let's say in that 3rd quadrant, as you're talking about, buddy, and all of a sudden you get to 6 wins and people say, holy cow, these guys might be pretty good. You've got momentum, but you can lose. This is a game you can lose momentum in a hurry. And I'd rather start at the lower level and go up than start at the top and maybe get bushwhacked, at least for now.
Fair enough. Good comment, Scott. Good night. Thanks very much, and have a good trip to Dallas. All right?
All right. Good night, fellas. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Scott Carter. Let's go to our other brother in here now and see what he's up to. Hang on a second. Franz, you're still there. Here's the dude right here. There he is, Coach Meadows.
What's happening?
You, baby. You're happy.
I was gonna tell Scott, man, he got to start reaching out. I got connections at Notre Dame and Ohio State, man. He should let me know. I would have hooked him up.
I think he probably just wanted to go just on his own,
Yeah.
you know, and see what he could find. I'm sure he probably had people in the house, but he just wanted to drive up there and try it. That's kind of a cool way to travel, isn't it, guys? Sometimes we just get in your car and go. That's a sort of a discovery vacation.
Yeah.
I had kind of that this time with myself, although I knew where I was going. But sometimes it's just fun to get in the car to go, right?
You do that in the Midwest, you'll come up on some cool stuff, man. It's a lot of good little towns in between some of those places he was going, between Louisville and Nashville, and then going from Louisville to Indianapolis. It's cool. And then obviously the trip up from Indianapolis to Chicago, some cool little areas up there. So yeah, that's not bad.
When I was in 2006, when the Gators played in Indianapolis, the Final Four, I flew into Cincinnati because I found out that I could fly into Cincinnati and rent the car for a third of what they were going for in Indianapolis. So I fly into Cincinnati and I stop, and I had planned this out. I stop and I have lunch in what they call it. We pronounce it Versailles, but they pronounce it Versailles, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And Duke Werner's parents come up there to me. It turns out Duke's from Versailles, and 3 miles down the road is a little town called Milam. And if you ever saw a movie called Hoosiers, it's about Milam, Indiana. And I went in there. Oh my gosh, they even have a museum. I have my Milam 1954 state champs T-shirt that I got that day.
Yeah.
And they wrote me up in the local newspaper that a writer from Duke Werner's University of Florida Gators stopped in and went to Milam. And goodness, you see the old gym and everything like that, and it's really a special thing. But you're right. Sometimes you just drive around and you find stuff. When I was a younger sports writer, I used to love to go take drives when I had a few days off and go to college towns, big towns, small towns, just look at their stadiums and facilities and things like that. And you'd be amazed at stuff like driving up to Charleston, Johnson Haygood Stadium at the Citadel. You don't think of the Citadel as that. They get a 30,000 seat stadium. That's a gorgeous stadium. Things like that that you just overlook. Savannah State Tigers.
Orange and blue, just like them boys in Gainesville. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Home of the legendary Frankie Harper.
Got a couple of comments from our listeners and viewers here, which we appreciate. I want to jump in here. They're loyal listeners or followers. Michael Burton said, "Creamsicle boys." That's great, Ben.
Oh, they know that. They know that the creamsicle. Listen, and I'm being generous.
I know the common term. We didn't know about it, but obviously you did. Robert Turner says number 84 Florida is going to be tier 1 by the end of the season. He says. Robert Turner says that. And Michael Burton says, "I'm looking forward to Coach Meadows' questions at Spurrier's again." You're well known there, Loren.
Yes, sir.
By the way, 3rd anniversary coming up in next month. Dan Bond talks like get some chili 5 ways. Well, I know Cincinnati. I know that's a famous eatery there.
Yes, sir.
And then Michael Burton says chili at Camp Washington in Cincinnati. Well, it's not the place I know. Anyway, so there's a few comments. All right, so guys, let's talk about what's ahead here, which is next week, the talking season. One thing, we start making predictions about stuff, and I have these quadrants. Notoriously, the writers and the media are terrible at picking this. I mean, anybody could have picked Alabama. That's like picking your grandmother out of Count Basie's band. But back in the day. But now, you start talking about where these medium teams finish, that's a hard read. That's a hard guess because you don't have a whole lot to go on. You don't have a whole lot, especially since with all these dramatic changes. So when you talk about that, we're doing a series, by the way, Kyle Curtis on Gator Bait. He started last night with number 16, Vanderbilt. He does number 15 tonight. And obviously, we're going to fall into that last. But who's to say? Who's to say? I don't think it'll happen that Kentucky won't line it up and win 8 or 9 games. Who's to say Auburn won't get hot and win 10 games? That's the beautiful part about it is we don't know that. But we're talking season next week. I'm going to ask both of you, aside from the obvious, which is we know Oklahoma and Texas would be it, what are the things that you most want to hear about out of SEC Media Days? I'll start with you, Loren. What would you like to hear out of SEC Media Days? Is there something more you want to know? By the way, I know that Kalen DeVore will be prime property because he's the new coach. He did an interview, by the way, with Blake Topmeyer, which he talked about cussing, being championship caliber, reigning there, etc. You can read it online. So what do you want to know about it, Loren?
Well, obviously, Homer pick. I'd like to hear what Billy has to say, now in year 3 and just more about where he thinks his roster is. And if he'll kind of shed light on the fact that this is the year that he's told several people and even publicly said that, this is where he feels like he has all the processes in place for a team to compete at this level. And where he thinks that'll go. Year 2 at Hugh Freeze, I think that'll be another one. And then I think, a lot of people buying Ole Miss. So it'll be interesting to see what Lane Kiffin has to say, kind of where he's kind of ran under the radar a little bit and kind of been able to sneak people. Now he's going to kind of become the hunted and how his team will handle that. And really, this will be the first time at Ole Miss that they've been considered, possibly a dominant defense and where that may come into play. So that's kind of my 3, I guess, would be interesting.
Right. Ben?
Yeah, I'm going to start with Ole Miss. I think the thing about it is, Lane Kiffin and what he's been able to do with 9 wins, 10 wins, 11 wins, and now you got the quarterback, you got the transfer portal, you got a lot of guys coming back. Is this the year that Ole Miss does the unthinkable and competes, for an SEC championship in Atlanta? And you ain't hiding, as Loren just said, right? Can LSU compete without a Heisman hopeful at quarterback? Because when they're good, they got a Heisman. They either got a Heisman hopeful or a Heisman Trophy winner at the quarterback position. Outside of some thrills last year, who's going to be the guy to get LSU back, to a level of playing for, potentially, trying to beat out Ole Miss or being that second team. And the thing about Florida is this. Yes, you got Shamar James. Yes, you got Montreal. Yes, you got Graham Mertz. Is Billy Napier gonna go up there with his chest out and say, look, man, I can be humble, but I can also be confident. Because at the end of the day, my job is on the line. I get it. I don't think his job is on the line. But everybody says the same thing when it comes to coaching. Just wait till I get my guys in there. Wait till I get my guys in there. You got your guys. You got your guys coming back. You got your guys in the portal. You got guys who've been around this system. People want to see. And I get it. Who's gonna be the sensationalized bulletin board material coach? I think everybody gonna be kind of buttoned up because nobody want to give anything away. But Ole Miss, hey man, are y'all for real? LSU, who's gonna be the signal caller? And if you Florida, hey, I know we might be third tier in Buddy Martin's, tiers right now, but we ain't bottom feeders now. You're not a bottom feeder.
I agree.
And we'll see.
All right, let me just jump in there before I let Franz me tell folks about one of our fine sponsors, Titan MRI, which does a terrific job on if you need an MRI and you're in the Gainesville, Ocala area, Lake City. I highly recommend you check this place out because if you have a problem with claustrophobia when you take an MRI, or if you have problems getting a booking because they're always when you're working, this is your place. Because at Titan MRI, they will actually custom make an appointment for you anytime, night, day, weekends, whatever, just for you. And if you go there and you say, well, I don't have any insurance, well, they'll take your cash or your card, and it won't cost you an arm and a leg. They'll deal with you on that situation. So I highly recommend, if you need an MRI in Gainesville area, check it out. Go to titanmri.com and see what they're about. They're doing great things. All right, Francis, what are you looking for storylines?
Well, I'm interested in hearing from the new coaches in the league. I want to hear Kalen DeBoer talk about following a legend. Sure, he's 104-12, but he's never followed Nick Saban, and he may think that he knows pressure, but how about this? Okay, the first time he loses a game, he's going to hear from 8,000 assistant coaches, 8 million assistant coaches who say, Nick would have never done it like that. That's pressure, baby. Ron Zook, ask Ron Zook. Ron Zook goes there and loses that first ball game, and all of a sudden it was like, well, Steve Spurrier never did it like that. Well, guess what? Ron Zook wasn't Steve Spurrier. And it took people a long time to figure that out, that he wasn't. And he wasn't going to be. And Kalen DeBoer is going to have to find that out. Another one, Mike Elko. He went 16-9 at Duke. Now they're acting like he is the second coming at Texas A&M. But, of course, they thought that Jimbo was the second coming as well. And how'd that work out? And the first time he loses a ball game, they're going to be saying, what the hell were we thinking when we got rid of Jimbo? I'm really interested to see that. The second thing I want to see is I want to hear Lane Kiffin talk about going into a season confident that he has a defense that can get him the football. We all know his offenses are as good as as you'll find in college football. Year in, year out, nobody really does it better than Lane. But now he's got a defense. He doesn't have to win shootouts. He can, for example, he can go into the fourth quarter now and feel confident that if he can score one more touchdown, he puts people away instead of, oh gosh, I got to hold the ball, and hope I can run the clock out, because if I give the ball up, we're going to lose.
Francis, hold, I got to break you for this bulletin. Ben, this is for you. All right. Raise, win, raise, win, raise.
Now look, hold on, whoa.
Take your
hold on for a second. Hold on. Now, babe, hold on for a second.
Yeah.
Listen, you started this now. See, I wasn't going to say
defeat the New York Red Hot New York Yankees.
All I'm saying is, listen,
okay.
Listen, I gotta listen. I'm at my sister's house right now, but listen, I'm going to the ball. I'm going straight Atlanta Braves hats. You know I'm gonna do it. You know
it's all right. You can turn on the TV and watch how they beat the New York Yankees tonight, all right?
Listen. I know Franz Beard. Is a Yankees fan, but listen, the evil empire known as the Yankees, we gotta dethrone them. Gotta take them down.
They're taken down tonight, and Aaron Judge was 0 for 4 against Ray's pitching.
Yeah, well, that won't happen 2 games in a row. So
I'll tell you what happened. This is the news. I'm sorry, Franz. I had to get that in there. Go ahead.
Oh, whatever. The Rays are a game under 500, by the way, and only 11 games behind the Orioles.
Not where you are, it's where you're headed. That's what Steve's for you.
Well, all I can say is right now they're headed toward. They have a real opportunity that they could sink below the Toronto Blue Jays into last place in the AL East.
6 of the last 7 series. How's that? Put that in your pipe.
And what they really need in the worst way is for the people in the Tampa Bay area to get together and say, let's build us a stadium and get out of
baseball. Right, move on to football. Finish up.
I've been saying that for years, buddy. They are the St. Pete Rays.
You guys, finish up your thoughts.
And the Yankees got a stadium across the street from the Bucs Stadium.
Good. Yeah.
And you know what?
Tonight you're losers, okay?
The stadium that's across the street from the Bucks from Ray J is built to expand too. They could build
back to Loren to get back to football. I don't know what.
Yeah, you guys hate it when you know you have to talk about the fact that the Yankees were winning championships when.
All right, and Loren, who will win the most games? The Sooners or the Longhorns?
Whew. Oh, I'm gonna say Longhorns.
They're favored too, but you know some could be sneaky good.
Right, but QB's big to me, and I know that a lot of people like the. I mean, the young kid at Oklahoma is supposed to be pretty decent, but I'm gonna go with the experience.
I
and
can understand.
Texas,
Man, what about you?
I do think Vernon was gonna have a bounce back year, even though he gonna have to do it in the SEC. But I just think that Texas, I mean, Ewers he a bad boy, man. I mean, if he don't get hurt, they beat Alabama 2 years in a row. He got hurt the first year, and then they end up losing. He played the whole game and they won. I mean, so yeah, Texas. I got them. Having a better season this year than the Sooners.
They love that. They love Texas. Franz, Texas or Oklahoma?
I think Texas is going to win more ball games, but I don't think Oklahoma is going to be anybody's slouch this year. They're going to win a lot of ball games. Brent Venables, people don't realize he ran an SEC defense when he was at Clemson. And that's why Dabo brought him there, was to run an SEC-style defense. And he did it. So he's been preparing for this moment. It's going to be an adventure for him because he's going to break in a new quarterback. But everybody who's breaking in a new quarterback is going to have difficulty in this new SEC this year. The one who's not going to have any trouble at all, I'm going to tell you what, is the University of Florida. Graham Mertz has 43 career starts. 43 of them. I don't know. Let's see. I'm trying to think of who's got half that many starts. And let's see. Quinn Ewers does. The Brady kid at Brady Cook at Missouri does. That's about it, as far as I can tell, for experience in the SEC. You win as Loren, as you have pointed out so many times, it's the single most important position in football, maybe in all of sports, because it is the one position where one person handles the ball on every single play that you run offensively, and that's how you score your points. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But Florida's got the experienced quarterback, which is why I think the Gators, I like that they're flying under the radar right now. And I like the fact that even people like Connor O'Gara at Saturday Down South is admitting, he said, well, last year I screwed up by underestimating Graham Mertz. I don't think I need to be doing it again. But everybody is, once again, underestimating the Gators. And yet they've got the guy at the most critical position. If he has an offensive line, the Gators are going to be really good. And I think the same thing is going to be true with Jackson Arnold, that if his offensive line is really good, the Sooners are going to be good. We know that Texas has all those offensive linemen back. Quinn Ewers can roll out of bed and he's going to be good.
All right. Yeah, good. Now, what team not named Florida, because they're become the darlings of this pick now, is a sleeper team in the SEC? Hard to call the top tier teams sleepers. So if you had to pick a sleeper team, somebody's going to do not just better, but much better than you think. I think Florida fits my definition of that possibly. But Loren, let's start with Ben. Ben, you got a sleeper team in there someplace? Give me 20 seconds on it.
Auburn. Because I think the thing about it is Auburn is real similar to like Florida. I think the thing about Hugh Freeze, I mean, I know his first year back in the SEC. Auburn gets a recruit in the great state of Alabama. I think they had a trying to figure it out year. I think this year because Auburn works just like this. When you don't expect Auburn to do much, they could be hell beaters. When they're high expectations, they kind of fall short. I think Auburn can be that sleeper pick to good enough to knock off, a big time opponent and have a better season than most people think they can.
All right, Loren.
Kentucky, led by Brock Vandergriff at quarterback, transferring from Georgia. They are going to be nasty up front on defense. Nasty. They have Jameis Dumas-Johnson, who has never lost a game that he started at Georgia on the edge. I think they're going to be very, very good up front on defense and go from there.
Yeah, but he was playing at Georgia. There's a difference. So
if you say so, you got to see, buddy. You got to see this dude on the hoof. Back me up on
I'm
this.
not doubting that. I'm just saying
he can go. He can go.
I think I can win a couple of games as linebacker. Franz.
Smail Mondin, by the way, got arrested for reckless driving and probably was drunk, but they didn't charge him with it. Speaking of
how about Etienne getting off on the DUI? Surprise, surprise.
Oh gosh, I know he thought it was lemonade. That's what it was. I think the team I think is going to be the real surprise team in the league is Oklahoma, and I really believe that Brent Venables is going to surprise people. I know some people think it's Oklahoma. Well, yeah, but people underestimate the fact that they've got the tradition of seven national championships and 7 Heisman Trophy winners. SEC teams are going to find out going to play at Oklahoma is not going to be a walk in the park. It's going to be a tough place to play, and I think they're going to be well prepared for the SEC. The team, the dark horse to go the other way, LSU and Texas A&M, between the two of them, I think are well prepared to take a hike in the opposite direction.
I did a show with Allie last night. We're talking about quadrants, and I had Missouri, of course, not in the top quadrant. I had Texas in the top quadrant. Allie looked at the schedule and said, "Look, you don't understand." And she broke down the Missouri schedule. It's a piece of cake.
Pansies.
They're going to fall down and win 9 games, and they got nobody to play.
They got everybody's homecoming opponent.
Yeah, and they're going to. I mean, they're easily going to win 8-9 games, maybe 10. And Texas are going to have a harder. Texas may very well lose 3 games, guys. Very well,
So could Georgia. So could Georgia. Georgia's got to play at Alabama, at Ole Miss, and at Texas.
Right.
And you know how many games they have won on the road against top 5 opponents in the last 7 years?
None.
Zip.
Ben, I would say this too, that I have this term called residual impact. I talk about it a lot. When you fight in a fight game and you fight a really good boxer once a month, a period of time, 6-8 months, that your body gets beat up. You keep getting beat up. This year's league is full of residual impact. You're going to get pounded by these good teams. When you get to December or even late November, you better have enough bodies out there. And some of these teams that don't have the depth are going to feel it about then. It may be a tough go for some teams that suddenly can do a swan song in November. What do you think, Ben?
No, I think you hit it on the head. You're going to get back to something real. I know everything now is a spread offense. You want to spread guys out, try to get guys in space, go with the best matchup. But once again, when the temperature starts dropping,
round and pound,
and you count healthy bodies, you better have 3 things: quarterback, offensive line play, defense. You're gonna have to have them. And I think some of these schools, while they really, really good, look, the best, as Coach Berger would say, the best we got is the ones that run out there first. That's the best we got. And when those guys start dropping a little bit, you're gonna have to see, who's behind them. But Florida has the leading rusher returning in Montreal. They got a 20 touchdown, 2 interception quarterback. 20-2? When did 20-2 become just an all right season, right? and you got an offensive line, and you got a defense that, hopefully they can go out there and just play complimentary. Like I said, yes, I'm going to be biased to the end. My glasses are definitely orange and blue. I think that Florida is built because Florida is going to that first month and a half of the season will decide how the games look at the end of the year. Because that gauntlet, there's gauntlets and there's Florida schedule. Good Lord. That back end is unforgiving. But I
call it the Bataan Death March.
But at the same time, the reason why people say, well, Ben, have you ever seen a schedule like this? I go, listen, Florida was 3-3 in 2003. Their next 5 games was at LSU, at Arkansas, Georgia, Vanderbilt, right, and South Carolina on the road. And their quarterback was 18. So I've seen this before. I've seen this before. I think Florida, like I said, at the end of the day, everybody wants to beat Florida because it's a big win, but I just think Florida got a shot because I think they built right. I really, really think they're built the right way. And for everybody in my Twitter feed that thought Montrell Johnson was going to leave, what you got to say now? Everybody thought Montrell was leaving. He's going to transfer. Just watch what we do this year. Graham Mertz coming back was the decision of the offseason. That was the biggest one. He's healthy. We will see what happens. DJ Lagway, they give you a couple of plays. Go put your hat on and drink you some Gator. Go drink you some real Gatorade. Made for Gators, by Gators. So everybody else that say Powerade tastes better than Gatorade, you're a liar. You just don't think that it's not. You're lying to yourself. Stop
it
that.
Sucks.
All right, Loren.
Powerade sucks. It really does.
All right, Loren, go ahead.
Yeah, just to kind of put people's heads to bed. We talk about the offensive line. Ask Osiris Torrance if Rob Sale can coach offensive line. Ask him if he was prepared for the NFL game after Rob Sale coached him and got him coached up. He'll do the same with this unit. I think they will be vastly improved up front. We talked about the quarterback, and you don't find a better receiver coach than Billy Gonzalez anywhere in the 50 states. So, kind of give you some positive. I know I get talked about for being negative, but, Florida is equipped with the people around the players to get them where they need to be, and now they just got to go out and make plays.
Sounds pretty positive, Franz.
Well, it should, and I'll throw something in. Everybody is saying, well, gee, all they've got is Trey Wilson. They don't have anybody else. Trust me, those two transfers they picked up are studs. And they got some kids who can flat out fly. Aiden Mizell, his parents were like Olympic track candidates. I mean, they are All-Americans in track at UF, coached by the greatest coach in the history of sports in the state of Florida, and that is Mouse Holloway. But you look at his parents, Andy Jean. You were talking about him the other day. He doesn't look like he's moving fast, but then you notice that everybody's running after him, chasing him. Another one, and the 2 freshmen, Tank Hawkins and Abrams. Those guys were recruited for one basic reason. I ran into Billy Gonzalez after a practice one day. I was going home, and I ran into him. And of course, we've known each other for years. And I said, "How are you going to like coaching these guys?" He says, "I'm drooling." So I think Florida's wide receivers are going to be difference makers. I think the Gators are going to be a lot better than people think. Now, we get to mid-season, we'll see who's got the injuries and who doesn't. But if Florida's healthy, Florida's going to be good come mid-season.
Gentlemen, very good job tonight. We're going to say good night with Renstar Medical Research. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Franz. And thank you, Loren. You guys, catch up to you next week. All right?
Thanks.
All right, gentlemen.
Go Braves! Go Braves!
Get out of here. Rays win. Rays win. There you go. All right, folks, I want to say thank you to you for listening and watching. We're back in Panama City at home here. Looking forward to getting in my own bed and sleeping tonight. Getting a chance to enjoy the beautiful sight out this window, which is St. Andrews Bay. It's beautiful. Good trip. Glad to be home. I want to tell you, I'm also grateful for sponsors, the ones I've got on this program especially. I mentioned Meldon Law. I mentioned Titan MRI. And I want to especially thank Renstar Medical Research, not just for being a sponsor, but also being a stakeholder in Ocala, where they do a terrific job of looking after us and also being a sponsor of things in town, being an alert business, part of the downtown stakeholders, and taking care of business in their community. I thank them every day, certainly with Mary Brantley, the wife of Scott, and Joe Sorrentino, and all the team down there. They do some terrific work in the health industry. You should know about it. One of the keys to getting better medications and treatment and better health are the clinical research trials that they have to test out new products. They do that very, very well at a high level at Renstar Medical Research with a group of professionals. And they like to interview people. They'd like for you to apply. Go to Renstar.net if you think you would qualify for one of the many clinical trials they've got coming up. They'll list them at Renstar.net. If you qualify for one of these, you get to help your community members, but also you could get compensation for time and travel. You also would be accessing some special medications that are not usually offered to people, and maybe even some medical devices, and no charge to your insurance. Check them out. I highly encourage you. Go to Renstar.net, and if you're so inclined, see if you qualify for some of these clinical trials, which are so helpful to us. Renstar Medical Research. See tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Thank you tonight for joining the program. Thanks to our guests. As always, we have the best in the business. Like I say, mediocre host, but terrific guests on the Bloody Martin Show. That's it for the weekend. We'll come back and catch you on Monday night. It's underway. SEC Media Days. Next time we talk, right here. Have a good night.